What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is Scott here in Monmouth County, New Jersey. Back again. It's been a little while. We are back from the international break for Liverpool versus Watford. Liverpool have a precious chance to go top of the Premier League for about 30 minutes, probably, in all likelihood, assuming that Liverpool and City both win today. City with a 1-point lead at the top of the table. Watford taking the trip up to Liverpool from nearby London, and the reason that you're seeing so many throwback jerseys, reminder of the horrible times that Liverpool experienced 10 plus years ago now. This home kit in itself was the Roy Hodgson era of Liverpool. So Roy Hodgson, I actually forgot, was the manager of Watford up until yesterday, but he is visiting and he's going to hope to take something, anything from the title-chasing Reds. What's up, Thomas? Welcome. His chat didn't show up on the screen just yet, but he is in the chat, I promise you. Good to see you, my man. And then, yeah, these, I have these front-facing. These weren't quite Hodgson era. I didn't realize, I had to remind myself that Hodgson was only Liverpool manager for not even 6 months, I think. That's how bad it was, and then Kenny came in. I'm standing off camera. But, so anyway, even the likes of Andy Carroll, who I have on my back of this jersey, came in during the January window, and Hodgson didn't make it that long. But he did have, I should have made this a trivia question, but he did make, I think it's 4 to 5 signings, including Milan Jovanovic, Paul Konchesky, the famous Christian Poulsen. So, yeah, definitely some dark times for Liverpool, but quite the opposite here as the Liverpudlians take the pitch in their warm-up, their tracksuits, as I will show you the starting lineup, and then I'll get to score prediction as Thomas is requesting. But without further ado, you've got Allison, of course, in goal. Back four of Robbo, Virgil, Matip, and Joe Gomez. Trent is fit enough for the bench, but I think Klopp trusts the boys here today to get the result, and then Trent will be all ready and firing for Tuesday in the Champions League against Benfica, quarterfinal, leg 1. And here is Curtis, Hendo, and Thiago starting in midfield, and Jota, Firmino, and Salah. All right, I'm just getting a text from LFC Lee that he will be joining us, so that's good news. Love to have some company as always. Thomas saying, yes, Paul Konchesky. Oh my God, what a player. Yeah. I think he peaked before coming to Liverpool. I believe we signed him from Fulham, but I remember he was left back for the West Ham team that took Liverpool very close in the Gerrard final in 2006. So he did have his moments, but certainly not in the Liverpool shirt. So Lee hit the snooze this morning, but he will be joining us, so that'll be nice. I'll fire up the slot for him right here. And so yeah, interesting lineup. Slight rotation with Bobby starting. I'm actually very pleased to see that. I was very pleased to see him come on against Arsenal. We have another person in the chat. Sorry, I can't, it's not showing up where I'm expecting it to, but he or she is saying easy win for Liverpool. Let's hope so. Getting on to my score prediction. I will. Sorry, I'm off camera. I'm going to go for a 3-0 victory for the Reds. Let's hope it's as easy as I'm expecting. What's it called? Yeah, I mean, of course, Watford beat us in the shock result of the season that season when Liverpool won the league, because that's when we were on that. I don't even know if I'll ever see that again in my lifetime. That we won, I think it was 32 games out of 33, just an incredible run. And then, of course, it had to come to an end at some point, but very few of anyone would have thought that it would have been Watford that season, as the players are taking the knee, and this game is underway. Oh, let me, I gotta sync myself up here. Hang on. Sorry. What's happening here? This needs to be live. Okay, there. Alright, well, we're 17 seconds into the game. Here we go. Oh, and it's Jota who has pretty much the first counter of the match. Good to see that. Sorry, bear with me. I'm, have to sync myself up, and then I'm going to have to let Lee into the chat, quote unquote, in a second. But Liverpool 40 seconds into the match. Robbo will be taking this first corner on the left-hand side. Nice orange boots to match the whole Liverpool get-up this season. Oh, and if Virgil leapt about half a second to a second later, he would have made some nice connection on that, but he was just falling and he clattered into a bunch of players, and it will be a Watford goal kick. But strong start, both teams looking to have a high level of energy so far. And let me catch up on the chat. Gomez is pretty good at right back. He has played decent there when he's played there. Yeah, I agree with you. This season, prior to this season, I would disagree with you. I think that he is a center back. And if you check the video games, they'll tell you that he's able to deploy at right back. But for the pretty big sample size of Joe Gomez playing on the right-hand side hasn't been that great, but I don't know. I think he's had a tough time in his career this season. He certainly hasn't played as much as he would have liked. I don't think I'm ridiculous in saying he and Virgil, the last time they played together as center backs, he was one of the best center backs in the league. He at times has been the best English center back at that moment. But just for whatever reason, I think he's a confidence player and he just needs to be playing games, and obviously he hasn't been able to do so, and Konate and Matip are certainly ahead of him in starting at center back. So glad to see that Klopp trusts him to start this match. I think that earlier in the season, based on Klopp's selections, that trust wasn't there. Again, maybe just his confidence at the time. Because there certainly were times where he wasn't even making the bench, and that was certainly surprising. Tom's also saying, as a Leeds fan, I want Liverpool to win this game, as I don't want Watford getting closer to us. England versus USA in World Cup, it had to be. Yes, sir. I believe I'm right in saying the last time that happened, it for some reason it just seems to always happen. There's certain Champions League ties that always seem to happen to Barca, PSG, and Liverpool, Chelsea in the Champions League. But yeah, England, USA, that always felt like it was coming. That'll be an interesting group. I'll flash up when we have a longer period of time to chat. I have a World Cup groups graphic that I can throw up on the screen and we can all discuss at that moment. Here's Curtis coming down the right-hand side. He gets a sort of a surprise start as well. Like I said, some slight rotation. I think most people probably probably would agree that our first choice starting 11 would be Allison, the normal back four with Matip and Trent. Obviously, Klopp didn't want to rush Trent. And then Fabinho, Thiago, Hendo, possibly even Keita, depending on his health. He was the only one player that was really ruled out prior to today. And then probably at this stage, kind of tough to tell with a small sample size of having, Diaz, Jota, Bobby, Mane and Salah. Diaz has only been with us since January, of course. But I think most people would probably go for Diaz, Mane centrally, and Mo on the right-hand side. Let's go Liverpool, says HBO. Howdy, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're watching. This should be a good one, definitely should be goals. Hopefully it turns into a bit of a Liverpool highlight reel, but I'll stop myself there because I don't want to jinx us too much. But as I was saying, in terms of first choice 11, I think that would be it. I think Jota has been a little cold recently, so although he did score for Portugal in their crucial World Cup qualifying matches. I think he scored against, I forget, it doesn't matter. They played North Macedonia. Oh my goodness, and there's Ismail Assar, I believe. They played a ball over the top to him, and he had a nice kind of two-step head start. Virgil wasn't super close to him, and he took it on the half volley. Difficult chance, but also sat at a pretty nice height for him, so that was a little bit of a scare, but it was from 20 yards and it did go over. Here's Bobby on the ball, playing it to Ravo, who's sort of underlapping. And here's Jota fighting for a Liverpool throw-in. Yeah, let's see here. I think this, all right. And here is Mo on the ball on the right-hand side. Thomas saying, would you rather this season win the Prem and not win the Champions League, or win the Champions League and not win the Prem? Of course, you could win both, but if you had to pick one this season, I would go for the Prem. You're right, it's sitting pretty nice and pretty for Liverpool at this moment, pretty similar for City as well. You could make the argument that either could do the double. Of course, a lot of chatter about Liverpool winning the quadruple. I'm not concerned about that. I mean, if we get to, mid-May and we're still in all competitions, maybe. But, that quadruple talk is always too premature. Oh, what a delicious ball from Thiago to find Curtis, who teased one up for himself, and he got the wedge out when he wanted the driver, and that goes soaring over the goal. But that was that was classic Thiago right there. Precision passing by the Spanish midfielder, who will be coming up against Germany in the World Cup this year. There's a beauty by Thiago. But to answer your question, Thomas, I would take the Premier League because I just think the Premier League is a greater statement. I think that it's a wonderful, glorious honor to win the Champions League, as of course we were thrilled to do so. I had one of the times of my life at Carragher's in New York City. I'll be there on Tuesday for the Champions League quarter against Benfica. Just an incredible day in my life to beat Tottenham, of course, getting the penalty in the first minute. And winning the Champions League is great, and you're champions of Europe. But if Klopp's reign were to end with just one Premier League trophy, I would feel not let down, but a little disappointed because we've had such a magnificent team. that I think we're deserving of more than one league. So I definitely would like to get that wrapped up. And I think the Premier League, at least in this iteration, is harder to win than the Champions League. Of course, that varies season to season, and it depends on, the strength of other teams, of course. But, with Chelsea showing that, they could win it last season. I mean, I think you look at certain Champions League winners, not many, but you look at some sort of judgmentally and say, okay, Chelsea won the Champions League and credit to them, but does anyone actually believe that they're the best team in Europe? No. So, yeah, for this season in particular, I would pick the Premier League, and then the following season, if we did win the Premier League, then I would try to focus my attention on the Champions League. It's an embarrassment of riches to be able to speak like that and try toggle back and forth between prioritizing the two greatest club competitions in the world, but that's my answer. I think winning the Premier League will be extra special than it was in 2020 because fans will be there to see it if you win it. Yeah, agreed. I mean, listen, I don't think any Liverpool fans were too sour on, winning it. I mean, let's be honest, we all saw it. You're lying if you think that we won it, because of COVID, or the season was wrapped up in December. I mean, I'm a very not cautious fan, but I don't. I'm not one to be banging out we're going to win the league in November or in normal seasons in December. But when we beat Manchester United on that beautiful punt by Alisson to Salah, you know what goal I'm talking about, when Salah ripped off the shirt and Alisson ran the length of the pitch to celebrate with him. That was just not only an iconic moment, it was iconic for so many reasons, but that was really when everybody looked and was like, okay, Liverpool's got this wrapped up. I think that made it like 18 or 20 points. And, even I was fine with the cops singing that, and that was just a magnificent moment. But anyway, yeah, you're right. It definitely was a shame that we weren't able to have the parade that we had for the Champions League win, and certainly it would be nice to win it again this season. So yeah, that's what I would go for. It would have been better with fans there to see you win it. I mean, you saw it on TV, but not actually in the ground. Yeah, sure. I mean, it's just totally, obviously it's not the most important thing in the world, but COVID definitely sucked the air out of those celebrations. Of course, you had some fans going to Anfield and getting a little nuts outside of Anfield, but I think that can be forgiven as Watford just drilled in a corner, and it is Hernandez who was able to get an open enough look, glancing header this side of the near post, and luckily Alisson was on his toes for the darted header, but it was a good connection. Let's see. All right. So we've got our guest, and it is LDT, and I'm gonna throw him up in that position. And Lee, when you are ready, I believe we're ready. Thankfully, it's still 0-0. Waited for you.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Thomas, if you could just confirm that Lee's sound is coming through okay. LFC Lee, he is
still getting set up. I will be on video shortly.
Okay, all good. I forgot. I was going
too many Modelo's last night, and I could not hit the snooze. Or I did hit the snooze.
Couldn't beat the snooze. So Lee, I'm just gonna share. Oh. All right, Lee, you should be seeing I'm at in the game so you can try and sync up. Beautiful ball played out to the right-hand side for Joey Gomez. And he kind of runs out of room, and his balance kind of saw to it that the cross was not of the highest quality. So still missing Trent, but let's not gang up on Gomez just yet. And yeah, as Thomas was saying earlier, he actually has put in some pretty good performances this season at right back. As Lee's getting set up, I'm sure he'll weigh in. But as I was saying earlier, Gomez at right back, I think we collectively as fans kind of gave up on that because he just, he fully kind of converted to being a true out-and-out center back, and him deputizing as right back really wasn't working, but we shall see today. And he has put in some pretty decent performances this season. I'd be surprised how many. This is probably like his 4th appearance all season. I mean, even in the cup games, I feel like he hasn't been able to get a look in. As here's an interesting formation of a free kick down the right-hand sideline, basically on the sideline. You've got Hendo and Robbo standing 180 degrees apart from each other, and it is Robbo who plays it towards the back post looking for Joel, but it is Ben Foster who comes and collects. Is Ben Foster 40 years old by now? It feels like it. Thomas, thank you for confirming that you can hear Lee. So he's just finishing getting set up, and then we'll see his beautiful face. All right. Ben Foster. Let's see. There he is.
Sounds good.
6
Looks
foot
good.
4,
We're all set.
38 years old. Almost 40 years old. All right.
Thanks for having me back, Scott. Appreciate it.
Of course. It's always a pleasure. Always a fan of the company.
Friend of the program.
You might be lagging a little bit. I don't know if that's on my end, but
Oh man.
see. Liverpool in possession. Virgil to Matip, out to Joey Gomez, and swinging it from right to left, and now we have Robbo. Matip out to the left-hand side, who this is where he finds Thiago, interestingly, down the left wing, and he plays it back to Robbo, and I'm going to stop commentating because not much is happening just yet, but any theories on who and how many Liverpool players will be fired up just based on personal frustrations with their national teams? Interestingly, Mo Salah was, we all shed a tear for him that Egypt were not able to make it to the World Cup. Just personally, I mean, I'm not an Egypt fan. In fact, I think they play some quite poor football. So maybe on the whole, it's best that they haven't made it. But anyway, let me see. Actually, this might be on my end. Lee, do you have your video on?
I do have my video on.
Oh, weird. Let's try this. Okay. Alright, let's try and do this. Alright, I think we're finally fixing this.
A little better.
Alright, terrific. Sorry, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us. But yeah, as I was saying,
That's my fault. Joined late.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So anyway, if you saw Mo Salah, I think speaking to his teammates in the locker room, kind of alluding to a possible international retirement. He was saying, like, it's been a pleasure playing with you, if this is it, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but pretty interesting because, you hadn't heard anything to that tune from Mo before. I think Liverpool fans would probably celebrate that, as we would get Mo all to himself. Of course, again, not to bring up the gorilla in the room, but, the contract issue that still needs to get sorted. But I think that one will get over the line because I think Mo would strongly prefer to stay in Liverpool. But anyway, those were some interesting comments, and overall, my question to the audience was, who and how many Liverpool players will be fired up between him and Diaz? Mane has already been playing really well, but will he be buoyed by the World Cup qualification? Who else? Someone else I feel like didn't.
Nabi.
Oh, sure. Okay. But yeah, I mean, I don't think
as you said this
ever
week,
qualified.
you guys have not seen the real Nabi Keita yet.
Yeah, I did see that. What do you make of that?
Okay. It's been like 4 years, man. But yeah. Like.
Do you think that? I mean, if I had to guess, just catching up on the chat. Thank you, Thomas, for filling us in on how Lee is coming through. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, great fan of the channel. A Leeds fella. Anyway, as I was saying, I think Keita is saying that because I think he has felt a bit. Oh boy, here's a through ball for Watford coming down the left-hand side, and Alisson makes a big stop there. It always seems like things are going our way, and then the opponent gets just one little flash of a chance. And don't underrate Alisson's performances this season. A lesser goalkeeper may have been beaten there, and then all of a sudden you're chasing the game. It's just a completely different tone. But yeah, I think Keita said that just because he's been feeling. Oh, and it's Jota, and there it is. Speaking of the momentum, this is what I'm talking about. Jota, let's hope there's no flags. You get Bobby with the.
I thought Trent wasn't playing.
Trent isn't playing.
I know. It was a credit to Joe. That was a beautiful cross.
With the yeah. Was that Gomez that put it in? Put in the cross.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I think this just shows that Trent's a system player. Klopp. It's all about the system.
Yeah. So is Mo and Jota, the whole team.
Yeah, it's all system. Yeah, that's a system header. That was beautiful.
System header. There you go. I mean, we're joking, but Jota.
Yeah, we're joking.
I'm not. He scored. Here's Scott saying, "Oh, Jota's back in form just because he scored." But what I will say is Jota is back. Jota's headers are back in form. The best header in the world. Here's Klopp. He's going nuts. Yeah. There we go. Lee, the good luck charm. Liverpool couldn't score until he joined. We love it. All right, see, that's good. But just as I was saying, I mean, 1 minute ago, it could have been Watford 1-0. Thankfully, we've got Liverpool 1-0, and hopefully this is a fun one. I think we've kind of had Watford's number. Not that makes us particularly special. But also before you joined, Lee, I was saying that all these jerseys are an ode to the Hodgson era of Liverpool.
I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask.
So
I like it.
we've got Andy on the back of this one, and this is actually
Oh.
truly the only true Hodgson era jersey, um, because he only lasted like 4 months, and so I
Correct.
was trying
Yeah.
to take a peel behind the curtain, folks. I was going to go through my vast jersey collection and pick out some horrific jerseys that I have, basically the worst jerseys that I have, that I'm in possession of, and I unfairly credited all of them for being in the Hodgson era. But that's not actually true because he only lasted 4 months. So this right here is Stuart Downing. This was actually the following summer from when he was, and then here was Charlie Adam, ditto the following summer. And even Andy Carroll, this was the same season as the Hodgson era, but he was fired in October or November or maybe even December, and Carroll came in famously in January. So the only player actually is that I have from the Hodgson era is Skirtle. Not that he was a Hodgson signing, but anyway, TMI.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was funny because I forgot that Hodgson was manager of Watford until yesterday, and I was listening to like a preview podcast or something. So, but that brings me to my first little bit of research. Oh, Thomas is asking for my Scouse accent. Maybe a little bit later. I need some time to warm up to that. Not that mine is very good, but if I did a Scouse accent, the lads would be furious. The Redmen, that's what I go to where they have the Redmen stand-ins. Errol and Steve love furious.
Yeah.
That's my attempt. Maybe we'll get some more later, Thomas. But so
And the
I
more
did a little
the more
bit
you
of
talk,
research.
you just gotta go high pitch.
High pitch, yeah.
Yeah.
Gomez unlucky down the right-hand side. He had a little bit of joy, and he tried to skip over his defender. The defender got a little bit lucky with the slide tackle, got the ball, and then it came off of Gomez, so it resulted in a Watford goal kick. Defender's dream there. But anyway, I did a bit of research in thinking about, basically the way Watford operate, which is, this is their third manager in a season. So I did a little bit of research in seeing, okay, does that ever actually work? So the research I did was the fate of any club that has hired or has had 3 managers in a season. And there's been, through 2019, 8 clubs who have done so. And would you like to guess how many have actually succeeded in staying up while having 3 managers in a season?
So you're saying 3 managers in how long? What time frame?
In one season, in one actual season.
Yeah, well.
So there's been
I don't even know.
There's been 8 that have done so. How many survived?
I'd say I'd say maybe 2 survived.
Yes, actually spot on. I thought you were going to go like 0 or 1, but actually Swansea survived in 16-17 when they hired Bob Bradley. Bob Bradley didn't keep them up. He was like the number 2, and then they hired Paul Clement. I think they survived by the skin of their teeth. And then who was the other one? Some of these ones I didn't know. I mean, I was too young to, internalize all, like Palace had 3 managers in like the 90s. Leicester had 3 in 01-02. Even Southampton, they were saying, I didn't even know that Harry managed Southampton, but he did, and they might have been one of the ones that stayed up. But anyway, moral of the story, boys and girls, is if you have 3 managers in a season, you're probably getting relegated.
Yes, something's not going too well.
Yeah. Oh! There's a slide tackle. I mean, he had eyes for the ball, Musa Sissoko. Hilarious that he's the captain of Watford.
I was
But
waiting to make a comment on that.
on the tackle or the captaincy?
The captaincy.
Yeah. All right,
I
he
do
got
find
the
that
ball,
pretty
but he did nick Robbo. It was one of those where he
Yeah.
he put himself in trouble by doing that. I mean, it may not have been a foul, but it looked like one. So, you know, I definitely could have seen a ref giving a penalty there and maybe overturning it with VAR. Oh, Matip arriving late. He probably caught the temple of the Watford defender there. So hopefully everyone is okay. But that looked like it could have been number 2 for Liverpool there. That was Hernandez with the header clear. He's actually their forward for the day. Lee, an update on your Ismaila Sarr opinion. In fact, I'm just saying update simply because we've been linked with him. If you've shared your opinion with me in the past, I don't remember what it was. But
yeah, I was. I'm not. I actually do like him. Whenever I've watched him, which granted this year has been not a lot, but from what I remember, I really couldn't tell you how he's doing this year. So that's poor by me. But from what I've seen, I like him.
Do you?
Yeah.
What have you seen that you like from? Because when I've seen him, you know, Liverpool get linked with player X. You know, I go do like 2.5 minutes of YouTube research, and you know, I feel like my first impressions on people are usually pretty good. To me, he just came on. Honestly, I don't even remember, but the residual memory that I have of it is that he was like a raw, you know, lanky, you know, almost like a Rafinha, or, you know, I'm laughing already because Lee and I have had extensive chats about Vinny Jr. Recently. I am not a fan, but anyway, to stay on topic, I think that's what I remember kind of seeing of him is, you know, just this like kind of raw, lanky talent where I see why people like him, but to me, a little too raw, and I have my Thiago teed up by Curtis Jones on the top of the box. Nice side-footed effort, but it was blocked, so we'll never know if that was how the goal was. But yeah, so my thing on Sarr, and yeah, I would put what do you call it? Like, I would put stake in almost your non-assessment of like, oh, I haven't heard his name. Well, you know, if you haven't heard his name, this doesn't always work, but in this case, I would say, you know, if you haven't heard his name, well, maybe he's not doing very much. Granted, maybe that's a little harsh too, because you know, it's kind of difficult to do so
Watford.
at Watford.
Yeah.
But just to throw in the little bit of pre-match Watford research, the player who has been the danger man for Watford this season has been Emmanuel Dennis. He has been a very good signing. I believe they signed him this summer. I think he was from a Belgian club. And I don't think he's playing today. I don't know if he's injured or what his deal is. Yeah, I don't see him on the bench. I also don't see him in the injury list. So I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, he had created 6 big chances all season. So he is a name that I have been hearing. And yeah, he kind of, from an outside glance, seems like he has been their team, sort of like a Glenn Murray for Brighton way back when, where if they're performing, they're getting results, it's probably down to him. Yeah, Watford currently in 18th place, right above them in 17th, 3 points above are Lee. Do you know who's right above them? I'm smirking, so that
unfortunately, I
maybe
think
tell you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I wish you were going to tell me there were 3 points behind them. I'm still having my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
That Everton are going down. I still have my fingers crossed.
It's funny because I think, anytime you have these stark rivalries, Liverpool, Everton, Newcastle, Sunderland, others, I guess the Sheffield clubs maybe, Villa, Birmingham, you're kind of tethered to each other. Like, you hate them, but you love to hate them. Whereas,
yeah,
I feel like it's a little bit different for us with our, more competitive rivals. The rivalries that are purely based on competition. Us with United, us with City, us with Chelsea.
Yeah.
That there's more like pure hatred for them. And maybe, everything always oscillates. It depends, like, how teams are performing, but there's like Schadenfreude and so anyway, my point is, like, with Everton and the more geographical based rivalries, that a lot of times you don't want them to get relegated because you want them around, because you want to be able to, like, beat up on them, or that's kind of football cliche, like that's the date on the calendar that you mark down. But I was actually thinking about I would enjoy seeing Everton go down, not least because Lampard's manager. Who knows? Maybe they'll get to 3 managers this season as well.
That's the main reason why
that would be a Liverpool fan's dream. Agent Rafa, Frank Lampard, either bringing them down or getting sacked prior to then. Ultimately, I think that they'll kind of like Everton. Kind of like Newcastle. I kind of look at them. I mean, Newcastle is like a done deal now. There's no chance that they're getting relegated, and I didn't think that they would. But I look at Everton in quite a similar way, that I think that they probably have a little bit too much quality to go down. But you never know. I mean, they are horribly mismanaged at this moment in time. I watched a Tifo video prior to the match. And they were saying that they have the 7th highest wage bill. Now is like a particularly horrible time for them to go down. Not that there's any good time to go down, but financially they really cannot afford to have that happen. So anyway, it'll be interesting to monitor that situation. Liverpool will be visiting. I said visiting. I don't actually know who's home or who's away. Not that it really matters, as you can see one stadium from the other. But anyway, that is coming up, I think, like April 24th. So that'll be a doozy. Mo Salah has not been too impactful just yet, but he did just go on a little bit of a run, and defender was able to frustrate him. Mo Salah has 2 iconic goals against Watford. Oh, and it's Jota with a second chance. That should have been number 2 for the Portuguese man and for Liverpool, but I think that was a nice block by the goalkeeper. Liverpool still in possession.
38-year-old Ben Foster.
38-year-old Ben Foster, that's right.
Thomas, I hope you're right. I would love to see Everton go down.
Yeah, just catching up on Thomas's chats. He said, "I'm being serious. Sadio Mane is the best football player in the world." Watford always sack their managers after 6 months. They must have it in the contract. Yeah, there's something in the water. Who knows? And he said, Leeds staying up, Everton going down. Yeah, I think Leeds will be fine. Again, I've told you Thomas before, and I'll say it again. I think Jesse Marsch is actually a great appointment. Not saying that I definitively think that he's a great manager, but I think that he has some nice ideas. And I think he has the right mentality for the modern game, and I also think that it's not too dissimilar to the Bielsa way. I'm sure there are some differences, but I think, I said these exact words before, that, when you're a manager coming in, especially with the threat of relegation. You don't want to shake too many things up. You don't want to say, hey, throw everything you knew out the window and let's start fresh, because it's almost like you can't change absolutely everything without a preseason and whatever. And obviously the previous manager, though ideas aren't working out when a manager gets sacked, you still want to sort of lean into the things that are working. So I think Marsh will be a good appointment. Jesse Marsh has a good sense of humor. I don't know that I know what that backstory is, but I'll take your word for it. I think he'll implement his style fully in the summer. Yeah. 40 minutes into the match, Liverpool 1 goal up. And go ahead.
Have you ever noticed when it cuts to Roy? I know Wenger is like the famous like coat jacket zipper guy, but Hodgson I feel like this is also a sign I've seen way too much Roy Hodgson over the years.
Yeah.
A lot of times he has like a nervous tick where he goes to zip up. He's not actually doing it. It's just like a reaction when it cuts him on the sideline. See him.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That is kind of like, that's an interesting look too. I don't think many managers go with the shirt and tie with the heavy winter raincoat.
Roy's always keeping it classy.
You reminded me of one of the first episodes of Silicon Valley. Great show. Did you watch it?
Love that
show. Peter Gregory, when he brings Richard in, and he's like, you need to have a business plan, and then they're completely ill prepared, and then he's like getting roasted, and then he goes to take a sip from his cup, and there's nothing in it. And he's like, did you just take a sip from an empty mug? Why did you do that? Just nervous and wanting, needing to tweak something. Or that brings up another one, the famous Louis van Gaal quote. He was asked about something that made him nervous. And they were like, as you were sitting on the bench, were you nervous when XYZ happened? And he goes, well, yeah, I was nervous. I don't know if you have this in English, but my ass twitch. You gotta love that when he's like, I'm not sure if you have this, and we're like, whatever you're about to say, we're certain that we don't have this phrase in English.
Yeah,
he was fantastic as a soundbite, and also speaking of Schadenfreude at United, not many things that
he did a fantastic,
he implemented
tremendous job,
panned out. Although it's so interesting because I feel like when managers don't succeed, or maybe I'm just thinking of managers towards the bottom of the Premier League, it's usually pretty it's not, when managers fail, it's usually not, they're trying to do so many things to play it safe and minimize things. So what I'm getting at is Van Gaal definitely had a certain style, and it just flatly did not work at United. He did the back three. He had this Dutch revolution at United with Memphis and Blind, and it just didn't work. He had the famous flop on the sideline that was fantastic, with the ref, where he was simulating a dive that he perceived happened on the pitch and he just fell down. That was hilarious. And then you had the other sound bite of his that I loved was they asked him, when he was clearly out of the title race, they were asking him if he felt that way, and he said, well, no, I'm not going to concede the title race until, mathematically, we can. Oh man, so good. It was also funny too because the Dutch are pretty famous for speaking very good English, and not that his was bad, but he definitely had some missteps with his English.
Yeah, a little bit.
So Lee, I'm gonna toss
I
up
like
on
the I
this.
like the
Go ahead.
yeah. No, I was thinking of the non-PG, family-friendly version of Van Gaal story when he was at Bayern. Something along the lines that he walked into the locker room and dropped trowel and showed everyone like, this is what I need to see from you this like half or this game. So I thought
Yeah.
that was an interesting motivational tactic.
Oh, I didn't. I never heard that story.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
So Lee, I'm gonna throw up on screen. I don't think you can see my screen, but feel free to pull up on your own. I'm putting the World Cup draw, which happened yesterday. I think a lot of people got
Ooh.
excited about that one. I think just in general, there's no particular dominant favorite for the World Cup. I mean, again, we are kind of some ways away, but yeah, I mean, definitely an interesting one. I mean, everyone always wants to make like a group of death. I feel like the last like 3 tournaments there hasn't been like a clear one. But you've got Group E: Spain, Germany, Japan, and then a play-in. England, of course, getting Iran, the United States, and if Ukraine makes it, it'll be an all-Val group. But there's also Wales and Scotland in there. I know BBC was pretty excited about that when the draw came out. You've also got Senegal and Netherlands. So you got Mane versus Virgil. I'm very excited for that one. It'll just be intriguing to watch just from a like friendship point of view, but also, I mean, Virgil will probably be marking Mane. I mean, Mane's like the pretty obvious danger man, and so, you know, I would think tactically that would even line up. So that could be very interesting. Someone was saying that that's the first match of the World Cup. I don't know enough to dispute that, but I also thought that the host country always
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought
started,
Qatar.
so I would kind of call a little bit of BS on that. Yeah, Lee, any thoughts that you have on the draw? You've also got Ghana and Uruguay, which is interesting because, of course, the Suarez handball, so there'll be a revenge factor there.
Yeah, I think there's like, I mean, this year there's no there's no real like group of death this year. I don't see.
Yeah.
I feel like it's actually pretty evenly spread
Yeah,
out.
I was just gonna say that's typically a good thing because
Yeah,
even in the Champions League, sometimes you look at like a group of death, and then that usually, if there is like a
that was us this year,
an obvious group, yeah, if there's an obvious group
and
of
we
death,
won every game.
then that usually means there's another group that's like Benfica, Zenit, Copenhagen, and whatever, like all games that get a very poor TV rating. But yeah, I think it's good that all these groups are pretty evenly divided. Good news for friend of the channel, Sukar. I think they got a pretty good draw. You've got Croatia, Morocco, Canada, and Belgium. I think that's pretty good. I think they should be able to get out of that. And I'm hoping that it's a good World Cup. It is halftime, so Lee, I don't know if you want to take a break or you just want to breeze right through.
Yeah, I will be back like 10:15.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so I'll just finish my thought, which is I hope that it's a good World Cup. I mean, obviously, why wouldn't you? But why isn't this working? Oh, that's why. But I just fear that it could be a little bit weird because it's like in the winter, and then the next World Cup, which will be jointly in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, so that'll be sort of exciting for personal reasons. But they're going to expand the World Cup. Hopefully they walk that back, but I just think that would be an atrocious decision to expand it to 48. Of course, it's FIFA, so they're going to welcome money coming into the game, but it's just that will dilute the World Cup. And I think 32 is just such a perfect number based on the like quality of teams in the world, based on the competition layout. I think if you make it 48 teams, like it's just getting to be too much. And I think that if you do that, that's an amount where I almost, uh, I would start to not care about like the opening games. Um, so I'm hoping that they don't go to 48. But anyway, maybe I will also take a break and get some water and refresh, and then I will come back and see you all. I hope you'll stick with us, and we'll see you soon. everyone. We are back for the second half. The sun is shining in Liverpool. Lee is getting reset up, and we will be happy to provide for you the coverage for the second half. Let me just release device settings. Here we go. Oh, and I've already missed something happening. Here's Gomez playing in the ball, and it looks like Andy Robbo was offside, but a really dangerous ball by Gomez, so credit to him. And it was, is it Cabaselli, who I was just reading on Twitter. Honestly, I wasn't aware of his existence prior to reading this tweet, but apparently he's their left back and put in quite a good shift. I think the insinuation is that he's keeping Mo Salah quiet. I would tend to think that if Mo Salah is quiet, it's because Mo Salah is keeping himself quiet. But a very interesting ball by Thiago. Karate kick volleyed back to Alisson down the right flank. So another bizarre Thiago moment. Let's see. All right. Let's make sure Lee, you there? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I'm sorry. Lee couldn't hear me this entire time.
I can hear now. I can hear now.
Good. All right, sorry about that. I think you might be frozen, but we'll give it a second. All right. Let's see. Turn off incoming video. Turn on. All right, there we go. Ooh, I see the jersey in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Harvey. Very nice. All right. There's King Klopp. What's your overall assessment on the performance in the first half, Lee?
Good. No complaints.
Yeah, I think it was good. I think still in second gear. I did see, a couple people, again, not that I even should be reading Twitter probably, because it's mostly nonsense, but, a couple people saying, kind of so-so, and we need to get out of second gear, I would say. I think, obviously, all is cool, all is fine, as long as we keep our lead. But if it is 1-0 at the 65th minute or so, I definitely would like to see an attacking change, so that way we aren't in a one-goal game. Mo Salah putting a lot of pressure on Watford, who was sort of playing out of the back, but really good pressure from the Egyptian. And I think overall, the first half was a pretty good performance. I'd like to see a little bit more of Bobby on the ball. I think Thiago was quite active, and mostly that's a positive thing. But with Thiago, I think you get some excellence mixed with some bizarre, mediocre passes. I think that's just always the way it is, and I think we saw some of that, but overall I think Thiago's been really good. Jota's been good, and we just need exactly what we just saw from Henderson there, shouting, and I think we really can't put in a calm Liverpool performance until we're 2 to 3 goals up. Just because, in Liverpool, listen, we've, I think I read before the match that we have won 9 straight matches. And so that's incredible, but we just need to ensure that there's no slip up whatsoever. and just rely on our Liverpool mentality. Let's see.
Yeah, one more goal ends it, so hopefully it comes soon.
Thomas waving, I think telling us that he's still with us here in the second half. How's it going, Thomas? Any beverage beside you, Thomas? Coffee, water? It is. I mean, it's later there than it is here. But yeah, I've got my second coffee going. Virgil doing Virgil's things, botting Sarr off the ball. But it is a Watford throw-in. Ball came off of Gomez. Matip able to put the Watford player off balance, and the cross is tamely collected by Allison. A little back and forth here, kind of two counter-attacking teams at the same time. Robbo tries to play a ball across the field, but is blocked, and then Jota, interestingly, I don't know how many long-range efforts I've ever seen from Jota, but that was one of them, and that went sailing over. Somewhat, not too much better than the Curtis Jones effort from the first half, where I said he got the wedge out when he would have preferred the driver.
Yeah. I just like to say Bobby has looked great his last few appearances.
Yeah, he has. He and yeah, I'll pat myself on the back here in saying during the Arsenal match, that was a game that was really screaming out for him, and Klopp was pretty spot on in bringing him on, and he definitely provided what we need. Now, granted, it certainly helps that Jota got the opening goal just before Bobby was substituted on, but nevertheless, I think he's deserving of this start, and I mean, what a kind of a secret weapon. Not really so much of a secret weapon, but just an option to be able to go to in Bobby. The reason I say secret weapon is it's almost like people have forgotten about him, Liverpool fans included, just because, it's been, and Lee, I'll give you credit. And I don't want to misrepresent you either, not that you were slandering Bobby, but you were pretty quick to say, I prefer Jota over Bobby, and I'm the stay the course guy, so I was sort of disagreeing with you, but, you were correct. Now it's pretty much like common knowledge that Jota is preferred to Bobby, and I think fairly so. He's the second top scorer in the league. Now, I believe today puts him on 14 goals, 6 behind Salah. But here, I think this is an interesting talking point. Lee, who is your, and then, obviously I shared the starting 11 before you joined, and I shared some of my thoughts at the time, which I'll keep to myself because I want to hear yours, uninhibited. But yeah, if you're starting 11, you think that that's a pretty, what's your first choice starting 11 at this point in the season?
Yep. Oh, so I think the back five is the back five.
Sure.
I'm sure you could make the argument, maybe especially recently, that you might want Konate in for Matip.
No. I think that's
but I wouldn't. I'm just saying, I would hear it. It's not my opinion.
Yeah.
Midfield picks itself.
Really? You think so?
I do.
Okay.
Fabinho, Hendo, Thiago. That's who I'd start.
Okay.
And then I think the front three kind of, if anything, I'd hear Diaz in for Mane. Obviously, Jota and Salah. You need Jota.
Oh, so
but
you're saying Jota, Mane, Salah.
yeah.
Okay, so
But
that's
I would
interesting because
actually.
I'll just insert my talking point. I think
Yeah.
it's such an interesting conversation at this point in time because, yeah, sure, Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, when Diaz came in, we needed him because African Cup of Nations and whatever. So he had to be a starter. And then Bobby was out of favor, and then Mane and Mo came back, and so Diaz obviously has had a really strong start. Jota was kind of a little bit cold, so I think I said earlier this morning that I think most fans would probably go with the midfield that you gave. I don't think that's as obvious as you were saying. Oh my goodness, Watford should have equalized there very easily. That was way too much time and space in the box for Hernandez. As let's see how this came together. Here's I think that's Hernandez, number 29, playing Sarr through over the top. He gets a little bit of a head start on Virgil, and he plays it centrally to Pedro. It wasn't Hernandez, but he nevertheless. Virgil was backtracking to keep pace with Sarr. Sarr very smartly centered it to Pedro, who was coming from left to right, and he had quite a bit of, it was probably a second and a half of time, but that, is, feels like an hour if you're a Liverpool player based on his position, and he had an open look at goal. I mean, Alisson really in the position Pedro was in, he should have just put that into the far post corner, but he struck wide. But this is what I'm talking about. I mean, moments like that, even just, we're completely in control of the game. They have one little counterattack, and the fact that they're able to open up that look. Now, granted, I know I'm sort of bouncing all over the place, but now let's just talk about the Liverpool high line for a second. I mean, I think most of the criticism is probably coming from these kind of snooty journalists that probably don't even watch Liverpool that much. They just probably watch Match of the Day, and then they see, oh, Liverpool's giving up this chance because of a high line, and it didn't work. But obviously I watch Liverpool every single week. Number one, I basically have blind faith in Klopp, period, but also the high line I think is doing its job. Yes, there are moments where they have breakthroughs on goal, but so far it has not brutally penalized us. Alisson has been able to come up big, and I think that obviously Klopp, the merit of a high line in the first place is to catch people offside, is to limit the space that the other team has to operate. So I'm a fan. I think it's working. I also think that even some moments that are counting in the memory of certain journalists shouldn't be, because we all know how they judge the offside. They play the offside rule these days where they let the play continue, and then they look at, Jota had a really open look at the top of the box. That should have been his second, but he kind of glances it over. But yeah, a couple offside moments that get called back, but that memory still lives in your head, Liverpool got caught out there. But no, that's actually a success point, catching the players offside. So anyway, that's that. Back to the starting 11. Yeah, I think most fans, if you polled most Liverpool fans right now, they would probably give you the midfield three of Fab, Hendo, Thiago, and then Mane centrally, Diaz, and Mo. Now, that's ever changing, and thank goodness for that we have, it's so funny because for the longest time Liverpool have not had any depth at the forward position. Now that's our deepest position, and I don't know, is that fair or not? I think sometimes yes, sometimes no. I mean, if you just look at Liverpool's squad depth topic over the last, 18, maybe not even 18 months, center back was a incredible problem that Liverpool had. Now we have Joe Gomez, like, not even getting, center back is sorted. Midfield, even this season, was such a huge problem. Now, okay, I hear you, Lee, that most people, including yourself, would go for Fab, Thiago, and Hendo. For me, I think that Thiago place is up for grabs. Also, maybe depending on the match, obviously matchups wise, but yeah, I mean, Thiago does have that mistake in him. Curtis Jones really hasn't been playing super well this season, so maybe I'm a little crazy for even throwing his name in there, but I do think that he has the potential to grow into that role just the same way that, you need to give him time the way that we gave Trent time 3 years ago, and now look where he is. I mean, Keita, I'm not a huge Keita guy because he's not reliable enough, but he has put in some very good performances this season. I'm not an Ox guy either. I am a Harvey guy. So there are times where I think it's a little interesting that we haven't seen Harvey post-injury. Maybe he's still just, maybe he's going to take a lot longer to get up to match fitness than I'm giving him credit for. But, I mean, he was first choice prior to the injury, and that shocked us all. But then, you saw the talent that he had. So, yeah, I mean, in some games, I'm going to want to see Hendo, Fab, Harvey. To be honest, long term, I think that Harvey's a much better. I think in theory, a lot of players are a better fit for Liverpool than Thiago, because I do think that while incredibly talented, he still is maybe square peg and round hole. Probably a lot of fans would consider that blasphemous because people love Thiago, but anyway, it's just, the point is, now we have forward depth, we've got midfield depth, we've got defender depth, though, so things are going super well. Obviously, injuries change that. Sort of ironic to even say that, because when you're talking about squad depth, that's what depth is there for, but then, people are very quick to opinions, as we know. So, yeah, I just thought that was interesting. For me, obviously, you start Salah no matter who you ask. I don't know. Based on this game, I don't know. And again, there doesn't have to be a correct answer. You don't have to have a starting 11. Certain teams don't have, City obviously have so much quality that they probably don't even have a preferred 11. When you have Mahrez and Sterling and Foden and Bernardo, you don't need to have a week in, week out starting 11. So obviously there will continue to be minutes for all of the front five for Liverpool. But I just thought that at this moment in time is pretty interesting because, again, Diaz has really impressed in the small sample size. But as Jota comes back to form, of course, he'll continue to start and whatnot. But, yeah.
Well said.
Thank you. Fabinho has come onto the pitch for... It's not Hendo.
Young Curtis.
Oh, Curtis. Okay. There you go, Thomas. Watford's next fixtures up on the screen. Not our screen, the NBC screen. Watford have Leeds next, so... I guess that'll be an important game. I'm almost surprised to even say that'll be an important game for Leeds. I'm so used to seeing Leeds as a bona fide Premier League team at this point. But I guess they're not out of the woods yet. Fabinho able to draw a foul on the left-hand side. Liverpool have a free kick about 30 yards, kind of pushed out from that corner of the 18. It'll be Hendo and Robbo. Let's see if they line up in that sort of peculiar 180 degrees apart from each other that we saw in the first half. Thomas wishing that they beat Watford, of course. Robbo with the the surface, but can't beat the first man, not his best. But here's Fabinho, who gets it about 30 yards from goal. You're kind of expecting him to line up. You know he likes to take a very straight-on frozen rope, as Tommy Smith would say. But he instead opts for the chipped ball to Salah. That's an interesting, you don't see that kind of ball too much for Salah. It kind of like go up there and get it, almost like like in NFL, and go up there and get it kind of receivers. Typically like a 6'5" player, you just kind of lob it up towards the back corner of the end zone, and you know that he can get it because he's taller. But obviously, Salah doesn't have. Salah's almost always shorter than his defender, but he was able to get his head to it and kind of looped it up and over the bar. There's Robbo, plays it centrally to Hendo, Fabinho. Lee, Thomas was asking me earlier which competition I would prefer to win this season out of the Premier League and the Champions League, if you had to choose one.
Oh, Premier League.
Okay, yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's probably for the same reasons that I said, that, for Klopp's legacy, I mean, if he finished with just one title, you would not be disappointed with that. I mean, maybe someone would say they'd be outright disappointed, but you kind of look at that and say like, oh, this team, based on how terrific we've been, we deserve to win more than one. Yeah, and I think, so would you say that the answer is always the Premier League, a la like the Premier League is like your holy grail, or do you think it sort of oscillates from season to season?
Overall, it is the holy grail. I'd always pick Premier League.
Yeah.
But especially, like you said, though, I feel like I'd feel differently if like it wasn't just a one-horse or two-horse race, I should say, with City.
Mm-hmm.
If it was trading around by like 3 or 4 teams, I wouldn't feel as strongly.
Right. Yeah, that's.
But I don't want
15
years from now
too,
looking back.
If you're losing it, you're pretty much losing it to one team.
Exactly, and I don't want like 10 years from now to be like, yeah, City won like 6 in a row. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Mo Salah making way for Mane. Salah looking pretty sullen, leaving the field, unfortunately. But hopefully that's just a competitive streak in him.
Are you excited for the headlines tomorrow? Mo doesn't score again. Is he distracted by contract dispute?
Yeah, that's probably going to happen. But what's important is the 3 points. So come on, Liverpool, let's get another goal, please. So we can kind of breathe a little bit calmer, finishing this game out.
Watford's going to have at least one more dangerous counter in them. So
yeah. So here's an interesting, I just thought of this. Based on what we just said about how we're pretty happy with our squad depth currently, if you could only make one signing this summer, who would that be? And try not to get caught up in like I know I'm kind of putting you in a corner. I'm typically trying to contextualize things and whatever, but try not to get too caught up in like the speculation of like, oh, is Salah or Mane gonna leave or whatever. But what is this? If you could add one player to this squad right now, where would you strengthen? And if you have a particular player, even better.
Man, that's tough. I know you said not to do this, but I think knowing that at least one or two of the three will be gone after next season. So
You're
I feel
saying
like it would have to be a forward.
All right,
I'm saying
I'll allow the speculation now, just because I think we both kind of agree that like the squad is kind of set right now. Like, there's no obvious.
That's what
Glare. I mean, maybe a backup right back. I think most Liverpool fans would probably like, just in the dearth of any other obvious need. I mean, even backup goalkeeper, we have sort of like Kelleher is a pretty sick backup.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if we were to sign like a Tsimikas, a right back Tsimikas, then that would be thrilling for fans, I believe. But yeah, I mean, again, that's just an indication of where we are in the squad. So anyway, turning that page now, yeah, I will allow you to kind of, okay, well, are we going to lose Bobby this summer? Because, so it's Bobby, Mane, and Salah all have 12 months going into this summer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so just in very quick summary, I mean, every Liverpool fan wants Salah's contract extended, probably would like Mane's extended, and, you know, I mean, again, playing with Monopoly money, everybody, you know, you could just say, hey, extend everybody. But we kind of all know that probably won't happen. Unless, who knows, maybe you get some sort of situation where, you know, Mane and or Bobby are willing to just be like, okay, let's just like push this same contract out 12 months. Maybe that's good for all parties. I think that's a little pie in the sky. I could see Bobby more than Mo taking like a hometown discount sort of thing, because I don't know. I mean, you probably could find a really, like, if Bobby had to go and, you know, the writing's on the wall and, you know, he's not going to get as many minutes as he would like, then, and you know, anyway, what I'm getting at is like Klopp sort of winking at him saying like, hey, you know, it's kind of time for you to go, then, okay, yeah, you could probably find a pretty good spot, whether it's like Milan or Barca or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's more so, you know, in a loose way, he's kind of like Salah. Like, you know, Salah wants to stay. I mean, everyone can see how much he loves Liverpool. It's just a matter of, you know, is his blankety blank agent willing to? Oh God, Joe Gomez trying to switch the ball 35 yards from goal after a corner, and thank you, Fabinho, for snuffing out that attack, because that was Thiago level assist to the other team. Here's Jota, who's just blisteringly running through the Watford defense, but there's a sliding tackle that just pokes it away from him. What was I saying? Oh, about, I guess, like, you know, if Bobby were to take a hometown discount, I don't think that's impossible. I don't think it's impossible that we have the three extending. I think it's unlikely, but anyway, so we'll see. So, yeah, I guess reading between the lines, you're saying, okay, do we bring in another attacker based on one of them leaving? What does that attacker look like? I don't know. That's a difficult one. I mean, now it's really getting like, you know.
Well, I think there's an obvious player that kind of lines up.
Who would that be?
He was looking to leave in the summer to join one of the big two teams. He's a striker, but he kind of plays more like a number 10. He's a captain in one of the biggest teams in international football. He's hungry for trophies. His name's Harry Kane.
Kane? Man, that's why. April Fool's was yesterday.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I had to get one in.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying that because come summer 2023, the attacking depth on paper could be Jota, Diaz, and like Minamino. Like Origi's
Yeah.
gone. Two of the three. I'm
Oh!
predicting
Post
two of
chance
the
for
three will be
Liverpool is
gone.
ball to the back post. Rabo, one of those just aesthetically very pleasing balls to the back post. He unselfishly, as always, tries to play it back first time off the volley, and Firmino was making one of those Firmino runs, just being the space invader that he is, and it just didn't find his feet. The Watford defense able to sweep up there, but that was definitely had the look of an impending goal. Yeah, back to what you're saying, Lee, about the depth could then sort of oscillate back to not being such a pretty picture.
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I always have to preface, I love Minamino. I like the idea of him. I'd like to see more of him, but I'm kidding myself if I really think that he has so much of a long-term future at Liverpool. Ben Foster, that was atrocious. Just played. It looked like he was trying to pick out his aunt in the first row. It didn't even look mishit. It just looked like, hey, I'm trying to put this ball out of play. But anyway, yeah. So I don't know. I mean, most fans would probably think that Minamino is going to be sold this summer, but based on what Klopp has said, he sort of, I don't know. Sometimes Klopp usually doesn't lie, but sometimes he'll tell a bit of a fib just to preserve some transfer value. I don't know. I mean, if Origi and Minamino were well, there you go. I mean, is it possible? Someone even say likely that Minamino, Origi, and Firmino leave in the same transfer window? Then boom, right there. Like you have to sign an attacker if that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
I saw someone mentioned Cade Gordon's name, like in terms of like depth, and it's like, come on, dude, it's a little early for that.
Yeah. No.
So anyway, yeah, I mean, if I don't know, I'm kind of coming up with my opinion on the fly here, but yeah, I mean, I think you'd love to see a player like Adeyemi, a modern young talent. See, that's it. Again, I'm kind of hesitating to come back on this, at least for me, familiar conversation of, back in the days of like 2 years ago, where we needed to sign an attacker, and it's just so difficult. It's more. It's easier to crack into this front three than it used to be, because before Jota, it was impenetrable.
Yeah.
And so now maybe it's a slightly more attractive because, is it a more fluid front three, fluid in terms of, places up for grabs. I would say yes, and so maybe you can attract an Adeyemi or like a Florian Wirtz, one of those types of players that has to sort of admit to himself, like, all right, if I'm going to Liverpool, that's a great opportunity, and I'm going to get some minutes, but I'm like, I can't expect to go start the way I would if I went to like, well, I don't know. I mean, even like a pretty prestigious team in like a Dortmund or something. Like if Wirtz went to Dortmund, he'd be like, all right, I have to start every week. But he might look at Liverpool and say like, hey, yeah, I would love to work under Klopp. I'm coming in. They kind of wink, wink and tell me that Firmino's leaving. Then you have like a Wirtz, Diaz, Mane, Salah, Jota front three, front five, whatever. So that would look kind of nice. But anyway, I mean, I know we're getting into like the speculation zone, which, yeah, I think, anyway, there's a lot of things to play out. We'll see how it works. But I think that could be somewhat of a likely scenario. Oh, so another thing that I had kind of teed up, I know we talked about this off air a little bit earlier in the week. I kind of floated the idea to you. How are Madrid and Barca looking in the near to mid future? Um, and I guess we can kind of re-kick that conversation off in a second, but just an overall question, would you say that Barca and Madrid have that like glamour back? Because I think for the last, not I think, I mean for the last 3 years, everybody, it's clear for all to see when they're trotting out, what I forget his first name, Braithwaite and like Memphis Depay.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely a hodgepodge. Luke De Jong is a Barca player currently. So would you say that Barca and Madrid have that glamour sheen back to them at this point in time, right coming up to the summer?
Maybe.
I kind of feel it. I don't know how it's happened, but I do think Madrid does have that sheen to it. Maybe it's just because they've, pretty much pre-signed Mbappe, and they're putting their name in the hat for Holland as well. So then your mind kind of drifts, and you're like, oh, okay, Galacticos are back or whatever.
Yeah. See, I like what Barcelona has cooking better.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's where we, had our conversation. So just to fill the audience in on what your thoughts are there. I mean, I asked you would you rather take Madrid's setup for the next 3 years or Barca's? And your answer was Barca based on the young talent. Mm-hmm. So take it away.
Yeah. Yeah. Just looking at their team, looking at the young players. Pedri, Gavi, Fati, if he could ever stay healthy, which is officially worry time with his recent history.
Yeah.
Also, Xavi has them playing well.
Yeah.
So I think it's they got a stew cooking.
Yeah.
Where Madrid, like you said, Madrid seems to be going the classic Galacticos way, which is a great equalizer.
Yeah.
But in terms of young players, like we talked about, it's Camavinga. I guess Valverde still young.
Yeah.
He's also, and your favorite, of course.
Me.
Not senior, junior.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. I was just going to link the two juniors that I know in world football. LOL that we didn't know Neymar Senior or Vinny Senior. So why do we have Junior on there? But then there you go. It's like, is Vinny Junior the Nani to Neymar's Ronaldo? That he just wants to be Neymar? And I strongly dislike both of them. But anyway, I'll save that for another day. I mean, clearly he's a talented youngster that people are excited about. So you certainly should include his name when you're, talking about what Madrid have cooking. Speaking of cooking, here's Firmino playing to Mane. Come on, you had acres of space to just roll the ball into, but he kind of led Mane a little bit too much, and Watford were able to clear. Here is Liverpool still on the ball. It's Thiago feeding Firmino. Again, just half a second slow. Firmino's brain just half a second slow. Maybe one too many touches. But that's okay. Still Liverpool knocking on the door, hopefully. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I think I can't be too upset with either answer. I think it's a pretty even conversation. The way I view it, I was tempted to just take devil's advocate Madrid just for conversation's sake. I don't know if I truly believe that fully, but I do think, yes, most people would look at Barca's youth, and there's been a lot of talk about them, I think for good reason. I also think, as you said, Xavi's got something cooking there, much like Arteta at Arsenal. You can see that each manager is onto something. Each manager does have that Spanish way of thinking, with the maybe trying to revitalize maybe the Pep Barcelona sort of thing, or whatever, their own spin on it. But I think obviously there's pros and cons to each. Every team has pros and cons, but with Barca, there's a lot of excitement about those youngsters, but you also have, nobody really knows what their financial situation is. They're certainly not out of the woods. I mean, I just learned this week that they got like a 400 million pound loan by Goldman Sachs. So that to me, like, okay, maybe that floats them, but like they already had a debt issue. So like, how is bringing on more debt, helping the situation? So anyway, it'll just remain to be seen. Like, are they going to continue to sign, Adama Traore's and Aubameyang's? Like, both of them have started their Barca career pretty well. I'm not, throwing shade there necessarily, but those are like band-aids. So you look at that team, and I think with Real Madrid, I think Barca is what a lot of people are doing, is this like potential thing, this argument with, okay, it's fun to do that with, VAR, what's happening? Lee just gave the signal. VAR?
Yes.
Possible penalty for a foul on, who is it, Jota on the back post? Oh, he looks like he got tussled to the ground. So Fabinho would step up, I think, based on current players on the field. Although we would all love to see Virgil take a penalty. I don't think we're going to get that joy. He only takes penalties in cup finals. Milner's stepping up to the sideline. He's hoping that he can be substituted on. I think that's legal. I don't think you're like frozen out to just the players on the pitch. I think you can sub on a penalty. That's got to be a penalty.
Yeah, it's insane.
Here he comes, Atwell, and he gives it. There we go. Come on, Liverpool with 3 minutes in regulation. We will get the chance. So what I was saying, and then I'll shut up right before the penalty is about to be taken, but I think with Barca there is like, you're doing this potential argument, whereas I think with Madrid, the way I look at it, it's more like whack-a-mole. Like, I think that you have certain pieces at Madrid where you're like, okay, I know we're going to be fine here. I know we're going to be fine here. Uh-oh, we're in trouble here. So it will be Fabinho stepping up. So I think like with Camavinga, not the finished product, but I think most people would be like, oh, Camavinga is going to be sick. Valverde's a certain kind of good. You're going to sign Mbappe, he's nailed on. Whereas like, okay, Pedri is sick kind of already at Barca, but what's he going to be? Gavi, great prospect, but you can't pin your hopes of an entire future of a club on him. So we'll pick up with this in a second, but here is Fabinho. Let's see. Come on, Fabinho. Give it to us. Double the lead, and there it is. Fabinho. Unstoppable. The best DM in the world right there. And it is 2-0 for the Reds. Come on. There is Hodgson
3 points.
Frowning on the sideline. I don't
that was a great
understand this. They
celebration.
always do the players these days, they cover the mouth. They don't want their lips read. Like, what is Mane possibly saying that, could get him, like, canceled or something? Like, why is he whispering to Firmino?
They must be saying some, like, really offensive stuff.
Yeah. Love it. All right. So Liverpool sealed the victory.
So Milner's coming on with like minutes to go. Still, like I'd say, there's about a 40% chance he gets a yellow card.
Yes, it is Thiago making way, and Jimmy Milner is coming on for those final minutes. And what's it called? Lee, I got to show you this. So I've added a couple new GIFs that I found online. You're gonna love this one in particular. Oh wait, can you not? You can't see on where I'm sharing, or I don't know if. Anyway, whenever you see it, you'll love this. Here is Lee's main man, Harvey, popping up and down, little peekaboo action. This is an ad that he did for New Balance. I cannot believe that this like exists. That's pretty good. And here's also Harvey rubbing the hands. Love it. We want to see more of him.
Yes.
As things progress this season, but fantastic result. I mean, predictable result, getting the win, but April, famously, we already know whichever way it goes is going to be a crucial month in how Liverpool are able to finish this season, hopefully with plenty more silverware. Liverpool are top of the league as things stand. That is beautiful to be able to say. Of course, it'll last. I was saying in the bio to this match here in the bio on YouTube that we are going to be top of the league for about 30 minutes. That's probably a little bit of an understatement. Maybe it'll be an hour and a half because City do kick off against, I think it's Burnley, who I think historically they have the best record against of any team in the Premier League. So we really cannot expect anything whatsoever from Dyche's men.
I saw a stat, and is this true? Like, in the last 18 months, Burnley's won, like, 6 games.
In the past how many months?
Like, 18 months.
Oh,
it was something absurd.
So say it one more time.
I thought I read that in the last, like, 18 months or 16 months, something like that, well over a year, they've won, like, 4 or 6 games.
Now, that's true.
Wow.
It's doing my Caleb Presley there. Sunday conversations. Check it out. Now that's true.
Now that's true.
So yeah, wow, that is pretty bad. I have to check and see where they are at in the table currently. Are they in the bottom? Is it Norwich?
Oh yeah, they're
Burnley,
pretty much done.
Watford, Everton.
Yeah.
So that's kind of crazy. I mean, Burnley have. I think Burnley have been in the Premier League for. What is it, 8 or 9 years? Maybe that's a little bit high, but I don't think that, or no, did they go down? I think did they survive one season, then go down and come back? But regardless, they've way overperformed for at least 6 years. People were always picking them as their preseason favorites to go down, and it actually seems like now this season is actually the one to do it to them. But yeah, as I said, Liverpool top of the league. What would be nice is, in theory, I'm not even hinting that this is what I want to happen or could happen because it won't, but if City were to draw, we would still be top of the league because proud to say, and I've alluded to this on previous streams, that all the statistics are pointing Liverpool's way in terms of goals scored, goal difference. I believe we have, after this game, I think we have a 9-goal cushion on goal difference on City. Also, by the way, this is the, I know some Liverpool fans that care about manager of the month. Crazily, Klopp has not won a manager of the month this season, and people were very upset about last month, being March, that Arteta won it, because in that time Liverpool won every game and did not concede a single goal. So I don't care who you're up against. I don't know how a manager doesn't win in that sort of situation. It doesn't offend me because I don't really. It's nice for our manager or our player to win manager or player of the month, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it. But anyway, yeah, so I think that this is Liverpool's 4th or 5th game in a row, at least in the Premier League, not conceding. So that is incredible. I think City and Chelsea actually might have a better goals allowed record than us, but again, just the fact that we have the top 2 goal scorers now. Son jumped over Mane in the recent weeks, but Mane is still right there. We almost have the top 3 goal scorers as we had for such a while. We have the top 3 assisters in Trent, Salah, and Andy. That's just incredible. I can't think that has ever really happened in history. So again, the only stat that matters is the Premier League table, and that's all anyone will care about and should care about. But I do think that things are certainly trending upwards for Liverpool, and hopefully City can drop some points. City are up next for Liverpool in the Premier League on Sunday. That is going to be quite the doozy. Haven't decided yet whether I will be online for that one or maybe just sweating bullets and biting all my fingernails off for that one. But first it'll be Benfica in the Champions League away, I believe, on Tuesday. I will be at Carragher's. Anyone that cares to join me, please do. I will be wearing green. I already decided on my kit. I plucked one of my Carragher jerseys, so I'll be wearing green. Come say hello. But you know what I look like. But anyway,
Nice.
That's about it. Lee, I want to thank you for joining me. This was fun.
Thanks for having me
again soon. And any closing remarks?
Good start to a busy month.
No, that's true.
Now that's true.
All right, Lee.
Take it easy, guys.
Well done. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Thomas, for joining. HBO, everybody out there, thanks for tuning in. Take care. Enjoy your Saturday and your Sunday. And this has been Beaty's Beat. Check out J5 Getting Live podcast on Spotify.